Okay, now scoring the interview for the job that you want doesn't have to be rocket science. Sometimes you can score that interview by simply making a phone call. There are many ways that people go about trying to get an interview. I understand that. But sometimes it's just simply a phone call. Now, the methods of achieving one vary by company. It is best to know what the company's application process is before taking the first step. See, let me give you an example, sort of backhanded. I was doing some volunteer work with an employment service. I had some extra time and always try to volunteer when I can, and I had volunteered to work with executives. This was a few years ago when there was a lot of unemployment, and I was working with displaced executives, people that suddenly found themselves downsized, or for some reason they were out of a job. And when you're out of that kind of a job, looking for a new one requires a little different set of skills as far as finding who to talk to. You don't normally go through the typical hiring process. And I'm rambling here, and I apologize for that. One day I was out, and I'd listened to them, and a lot of times they said things like, I'm required to fill out an application or submit a resume online. And it's like I'm sending it into a black hole. I never hear anything from the company, even an acknowledgement that they had received it. And I was doing a lot of thinking about that and wondering how I could help these people. And I was driving down the street and I'll mention the name of the company, and I probably shouldn't, but driving down the street, and I drove by a Sam's Club, a large membership discount firm owned by the Walmart Corporation. And I'd heard one of these people in my group complain about that particular organization. So I thought, well, I have nothing to lose, so I went in. And I just looked around and looked for somebody that might be in charge, and I never really saw anyone. And so I just asked an associate there if I could meet with any floor manager. It didn't matter. I didn't need to meet with the store manager. I just had a question. So this young man approached me in a few minutes and introduced himself and asked how he could help me. And I told him, I said, here's what I do, not as a living, but I volunteer. And people tell me all the time they fill out an application or at least send a resume to your company, and they never hear anything. They would like very much to at least be able to talk to someone, because they know people are being hired in leadership positions. They want to be able to talk to someone. He was taken aback by that. The point that I was able to learn from all this is, yes, you should do that, because we require that. That's the only way I can read your resume, he said, is if you put it online. You can't give me one physically. So he said, the second thing you need to go back and tell these people to do is do what you just did. Come in and talk to someone. Don't call and ask for an interview. Just come in and talk to someone. Tell us what you have on your mind. We can determine whether we'll make an interview possible for you. Made all the difference in the world. I know 2 people that were hired because of that. So there are many ways for you to go about getting that interview. See, generally when a company is hiring, they post an ad in the newspaper or online in one of the job banks. How to contact them is usually included in the ad as well, but in this case it wasn't. See, you don't want to email a resume to a company that is requesting that you walk in with your resume. You don't want to call a company that requires a faxed resume, etc. Ignoring their initial contacting information will guarantee that you will not get that interview, because you have already proven that you can't follow simple directions. Walmart needed it online, but then come and talk to them. Sometimes you can get a job lead from a friend before the job has even been posted. If this is the case, you can either ask the friend to give the employer your resume and cover letter, or if your friend doesn't actually work where the lead came from, you can try calling about the position. and ask what the application procedure is. Even if you're getting ahead of the game, you still have to go through their process. Now, there are 4 general methods of applying for a job, and they include these basic methods, and you probably are already aware of them, but we're going to go through them again. Number 1, sending a resume. Some companies prefer that you mail in your resume. For this type of approach, it is best to include a cover letter with your resume. The cover is a basic letter that describes the position that you are interested in and a few details of your qualifications and skills. Not your whole resume, that's attached. See, it's basically your lead-in to your resume. Now, before writing your cover letter, you should know whom the letter is to be addressed to. You never want to begin a cover letter with "Dear Sir" or "Madame" or "To whom it may concern." It shows that you have not prepared and that you are not looking for a specific position with their company, but any job that you can get your hands on. And that doesn't show very much creativity. So basically, it is disrespectful to your prospective employer. Just remember, if this is a job you want, that you feel you can contribute to, and you would feel good about working for that company, then all of the time you spend preparing for the interview is time well spent. So do your research. Now, emailing your resume. Now, again, we're going to have to backtrack here just a little bit. We're going to address this in the last half of the course, but I want to bring it up right now in case I don't stress it later on. Before you send out your very first email with a resume attached, do yourself a huge favor. And unless you have an email address that's just your name, and maybe you have to put a number in there because your email provider requires it, your name, maybe a number, and then the email provider. In my case, even for business, I use Gmail. All those cute little names and cute little titles and everything you've come up with over the years as an email address just turns headhunters off. It turns department heads off. It turns everyone that you want to do business with off. So get rid of them. Oh, I'm sorry. Just start a new one. Create a new email account just for job applications and use just your name and a number if the company requires it. Make it simple, make it direct, and please, please do not make it cute. Even if you are middle-aged and your email address is Joyce, mother of 5, get rid of it, please. They don't want to see that. It's just too personal. So that's just a word of warning, word of advice. Now, emailing a resume is becoming very commonplace for a way for recruiters to get resumes, so please be prepared with that. See, most companies offer this method as an alternative to others. However, there are a few tips on how you should go about it. Please, another thing, please attach your resume as a Word document or a PDF file. These are the most common formats and what most companies will accept. The subject line should read something like Smith, John, clerical position in parentheses. This makes it easier for the recruiter to know who the email is from and what it pertains to. And it also assures that your email will be read, believe me. Now, sometimes there are specific methods for addressing an emailed resume. Some companies have certain subject line requirements, so follow them, of course. If your company wants you to paste your resume, don't send attachments because your email will be deleted right away. Most want them attached. They do not want them pasted in the email. But read the directions. If they want it, do it. Don't try to be cute with them. Now, if you're faxing your resume, again, you will need to include a cover letter. If you are not using your own fax machine, be sure to include your proper contact information. Now, the rules for your cover letter are the same as for mailing your resume. Again, we're going to talk about cover letters a little more later on. Just be professional in them. Now, some companies require that you bring your resume with you. So, if you're going to do that, you'll want to dress appropriately. You would want to dress just like you would for an interview. Companies usually ask you to do this if you are going to be working directly with customers. Why? Well, they ask for a walk-in because they want to get a good look at your grooming habits right away. Sometimes a walk-in will have the employer giving you a brief interview on the spot. So be prepared for that. Have your, what they call the elevator response, a quick little response. So be on your best behavior. Behave yourself appropriately, even with receptionists or people you see waiting. Also, walk-ins do not require you to bring in a cover letter with your resume. Your appearance is sort of the cover letter. Sometimes you will be requested to fill out an application form as well. Smile and be polite, no matter who you are talking to. That could be the difference between getting an interview and just taking an extra trip for nothing.